and then you aim at something. It takes a lot of precision, and you have to be very gifted. So David was a slinger. David is up against heavy infantry. Okay, he's up against this giant who is designed for close combat, and he's a slinger. Now, a slingshot, this weapon that David used, was a deadly weapon. It was not in jail like what we see to hit in time. It was a deadly weapon. When you read about the use of these slingshots, the writers and people who know about them better say the stone from a slingshot, a gifted slinger, stone could go as fast as 90 meters per second. It would sometimes have a range of 400 meters. And they say sometimes it could be faster and it would go further than a bow and arrow. It says in the hands of an expert, a sling bullet or a sling stone could reach speeds of up to 160 kilometers per hour. So if you got somebody who was really gifted with using a slingshot, they could throw that stone further than 400 meters at 90 meters per second or at more than 160 kilometers per hour. And when they write and describe these slingshots, they say a stone which was thrown from a slingshot, from a sling, had roughly the velocity of a bullet. That's how deadly this weapon that David had in his hand was. And people who write about ancient military weapons say a man who was skilled enough with a sling could kill a person from a distance of up to 400 meters. They had to be incredibly accurate. And in fact, a gifted slinger could hit a bird which was in mid-flight. A bird which was flying. If you got a gifted slinger, they could hit it as it was flying. Now, I want you to open Judges chapter 20, verse 16, and I want someone to read it so that we understand what's happening here. Judges chapter 20, verse 16. Judges chapter 20, verse 16. No one has it. Okay, I'm going to read it here, unless someone has found it. You have found it. Judges 20, verse 16. Yes, my phone. Judges 20, verse 16. Listen to what the Bible says. Listen.
Among all these people,
yes,
there were 700 chosen men.
Yes.
Left-handed.
Yes.
Everyone could sling stones at an air breath and not miss.
Did you hear that? It says, among these soldiers, there were 700 select troops who were left-handed, each of whom could sling a stone at a hair and hit it and not miss it. A piece of hair, Bazalan. It says these guys could sling a stone. You put up a piece of hair like this, they could hit it and not miss it. Slingers were equivalent of modern day snipers. That's how accurate these people were. Now, do you get the picture? We have here a sniper in David who is up against heavy infantry, Goliath. And we've heard about these slingers. But number one, they were very accurate. Number two, the slingshot, the stone, the sling bullet, had the velocity which was faster than a bullet from a shotgun. Slingers, if you go to 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 24, they decided the result of warfare. If you go to 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 24, they destroyed the towns. This is verse 25. They destroyed the towns, and each man threw a stone on every good field until it was covered. They stopped up all the springs and cut down every good tree. Only Ker and Hareseth was left with its stones in place, but men with slings surrounded it and attacked it. Bazalwane, David, up against Goliath, you can tell from what we've read here, but Goliath stood no chance against David. Now I know when we were growing up, what we told about he was a humble, vulnerable boy. He was up against this soldier. But there's this background here that I only discovered recently, by the way. We have here someone who is very accurate and has this deadly weapon in his hand up against this big giant. We have here David. The Bible says that his accuracy was such that he could aim at a piece of hair and hit it without missing it. The Bible says these slingers decided the result of warfare. And when David had this accuracy, if he could aim at a piece of hair and hit it, what about this giant? This huge guy who is 3 meters. What chance was there that he could miss this guy? Are we together, Wazara? Against David, Goliath was a sitting duck. He was a sitting duck. Now, how did David become victorious? Verse 26 says, David asked the men. Okay, here's the answer. Remember, we're talking about how to overcome problems today as we're waiting for the second coming of Christ. And we're looking at how David overcame this obstacle in front of him. And we want to see if there are any lessons that we can learn from that story that we can apply to our lives in practical terms today. Verse 26, the Bible says, David asked the men standing near him, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? And he goes further and starts asking about Goliath. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? Now there's a book that was written by an old, but ancient Chinese general. His name was Sun Tzu. Some of us may know the book, The Art of War. Sun Tzu, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. The Bible says, when David decided that he was going to fight this Philistine, he asked about this guy. Who is this guy who is defiling the armies of the Lord? Who is he? Tell me about him. Before he got into this battle, David sought information. Lesson number 1, brothers and sisters, before you get into any situation, gather information.
Hallelujah.
Know what you're getting yourself into.
Yes.
David knew what he was getting himself into. Many of us today, because we do not know what we are getting ourselves into. Sizabona umdala uZibandibanyana and his lovely family driving out of church, and yes, I also want to be married. Not knowing what we are getting ourselves into. Know what you're getting yourself into. I'll look at Mkanyiso, I'll look at Mkuluam and say, oh, those two are advocates. I also want to be an advocate. And you don't know what you're getting yourself into. My friends, many of us are in careers where we are stressed. When we wake up on Monday and we think of going to work,
Hey.
we just get depressed.
I'm telling you.
Know what you're getting yourself into. Now,